All right, good evening, everyone. Pet Man Matt Mara here. Welcome to Friday Night Live or CFI After Dark, whatever you want to call it. We did not have a show this past Wednesday in honor of Thanksgiving, so I just want to wish everybody happy holiday. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, got enough to eat, and all that good stuff. But tonight we had some pretty pretty good football across the area, and um, I know I won't have a lot of people on necessarily tonight because we're so late. But real quick, we did go out to Burns High School in beautiful Lawndale, North Carolina, and we saw Burns take on Monroe. And it was a great football game. I mean, the first half was just an absolute shootout. I mean, we had two talented quarterbacks in junior Ben Mooney for Burns and Kamoni Robinson for Monroe, just going back and forth with big play after big play. Um, when you get those kind of games and you're on the sideline trying to figure out where to stand, to get the great angles. Had a lot of long, big plays tonight, and you'll see on the highlights a lot of those plays, which makes it fun, for the highlight. But you want to get that perfect angle, and there were some where we just had so many great athletes in space making big plays downfield that you didn't get the great shot. But um, these kids, played awesome football tonight. Besides the quarterbacks, Burns athlete Ryan Thompson, I can't say enough about that young man. My gosh, I counted 6 touchdowns. I know he had, I think he had 5 receiving. We were trying to figure that out, but he also had a touchdown run out of the Wildcat formation, and he also had another run from the Wildcat that was called back for a holding penalty. That was probably the most impressive play of all because he just took off and just left everyone in the dust. I'm still gonna put it in the highlight, but because it was such an incredible play. But it was 35-28 at halftime. Burns was up, and then they went up 2 touchdowns, and really in the second half, Burns' defense made some adjustments. They really had a big stop in the beginning of the third quarter when Monroe got really good field position on the Burns 30-yard line, but went out on down. So if they would have scored there, they would have tied the game up early in the third quarter, and that would have made a big difference. Um, the rest of the way that game went because Burns got that stop. Then they got another touchdown to go up 2 scores. And while Monroe got it back within 1 score a couple of times, the last touchdown they got made it 49-40 with about 4.5 minutes left. They went for two and they didn't get it. But then the Monroe defense was able to force another stop. So some people were thinking, well, if they would have went for one, then they were down one possession, and they could have tied it, on that last possession and sent it to overtime. But on the last possession, Burns was able to come up with an interception with about 30 seconds left in the game, and that ended things, for Monroe. But a valiant effort, just a great, great season for Monroe, and then for Burns, they get to go to Reidsville next week and play for the chance to play in the state championship game, and I think they got a really good shot, especially with the way their offense was playing. You can check out the interviews I did with Coach David Devine, Coach. I'm sorry, not Coach. Quarterback Ben Mooney, and then athlete Ryan Thompson. I just posted those on Twitter, and later on we'll get those on Instagram and Facebook as well. And then, if I got time, I'll get to the highlights tonight, and then we'll get some pictures as well. Jermaine Brandon commenting, giving us good updates on Grimsley and Huff all night. This was a triple overtime victory for Grimsley, 40-37. We were getting updates on the sideline, at Burns as well, and I was pulling for Huff, and I hate that they weren't able to, pull that out. Grimsley, I mean, you got to give them credit, man. They're a very good team with a lot of talent, and we've seen that they're well coached. And they get to host Weddington next week with the chance to see who's going to go to the 4A state championship game from the West. Weddington defeating AC Reynolds 17-10 tonight. So those two were the best of the West, and they'll get to duke it out up at Greensboro Grimsley next week because Grimsley is the 1 seed. So that is our 4A West matchup next week, Grimsley and Weddington. And on the east side of things, just so we know, Millbrook defeated Hillside 19-14, and then New Bern crushed Rollsville 70-34. So Millbrook will go to New Bern to see who will come out of the east side, and we know New Bern has a strong running attack. They've got the heralded defensive tackle that's committed to Florida State. So that's going to be a heck of a matchup because Millbrook has just kind of been on a run. They're the 12 seed, and New Bern's the 2. And then Grimsley, of course, is the 1 seed, and Weddington the 6. So that's what we got in the 4A. Let's drop down, talk about 3A because we had some good 3A ball. And a bit of a surprise, East Lincoln. We felt like it was going to be a really good game, but East Lincoln took it to Kings Mountain, winning 46-20 at Kings Mountain. And with that victory, they get to host South Point, the 11 seed, who defeated Eastern Guilford, who has been on a not Eastern Guilford. I'm sorry, Eastern. Maybe it is Eastern Guilford. Yeah. So the Eastern Guilford is the 23 seed. They've been on a run in the past few weeks, but they got knocked off tonight by South Point, 28-25. So East Lincoln South Point is on our short list next week of the game that we'll be attending. We got some I got some guys coming on, so let me finish up real quick on the 3A West, and I'll let these guys talk. And then on the east side, just so you know, Northern Nash is the 1 seed. They'll be hosting Fayetteville 71st, who is the 3 seed. So kind of a chalk run on the east side of things, but Northern Nash defeating Triton. Triton 28 seed made a bit of a Cinderella run. They defeated Triton 42-7 tonight. And 71st defeated Terry Sanford in a Fayetteville matchup 38-13. Big win for them. All right, let's bring on our first guest, the esteemed Joe Hughes. What's up?
Just getting in, man.
Oh man, you ain't tell me Burns was off the beaten path.
I thought that was kind of implied.
Well,
You know,
it was
I
still a
like
fun adventure.
I like to hang out in the sticks, man. That's my people.
All right, Joe. What you got for us, man?
Well, Kings Mountain's pursuit of a state championship comes to an end. 46-20 win for East Lincoln. East Lincoln got it done. Christopher Daly, Deuce, as he's called by the folks over there in East Lincoln, had touchdowns at 40, 60, and 80. And by my account, he had close to 200 yards. Of course, you had your few losses here and there, but it was the big play for East Lincoln here Friday night. And Keandre Walker, Virginia recruit, had a punt return for a touchdown, interception return for a touchdown. Also had a 17-yard touchdown grab. Markel Clark later got in on the act. They had a 93-yard touchdown connection with quarterback Tyler Mizell. And Kings Mountain really did a good job of shooting itself in the foot. Penalties at bad times, and just a lack of a carelessness with the football is what really did them in. And they did a lot of things that they wanted to do. They ran the football really well, and it was just those costly turnovers and those penalties at bad times that reeled them in.
Yeah, I hate it for those guys. It's rough anytime your season ends, but everyone kind of felt like if this was gonna happen for them, this was gonna be the year it happens for them, and
Mm-hmm.
it just unfortunately just didn't happen for them. I hate that.
It's football. That's kind of the problem with this. It's the blessing and the curse of it. They did a lot of the things that they have always done, but we always wondered if they got behind, how would this team react? How would things go? And because we always harken
Hmm.
back to that Monroe game 2 years ago, where it
Right.
had similar circumstances, where you had a dominant defense, but they just couldn't overcome the mistakes of their own mistakes and those of the other side of the football. Let's be clear here. Defense didn't finish like they've been doing. Uh,
Hmm.
as I said, Christopher Daly did his thing, but there was also a play where on a counter play you have Ben Cutter, he's a linebacker now. He can run the football, but he's a linebacker, and he breaks off a 50-yard run. That's not supposed to
Oh
happen on
wow.
him. So and that was a momentum changing play because they were already down. They were already down already. So um, it was just not their night. They just had a bad time to have a terrible game.
Mm. Well, you know, hats off to East Lincoln. I might be seeing them next week. We'll see who else is in the bracket that we might be able to get to in a reasonable time. But Joe, I appreciate it, man. I know you got several things to do. Um, I
Yeah,
appreciate you jumping on here in a very late Friday or Saturday morning live. Let's call it
yeah. I'm gonna be up a while. I got some mourning to do. Dutch Fork finally beat Gaffney.
that. Well, I wasn't gonna mention
Yeah, it,
that.
yeah. I'm just glad that they didn't get to 60 because I think that he would have got if he had the chance to do it, he was going to put up 60 points on Gaffney, and he wasn't
Yeah.
able to do it. He got his 50. It was going to happen eventually, man. He got that last Infinity Stone.
Well, Joe, man, I appreciate it, and I'll see you soon, man.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. All right, that's Joe Hughes joining us. Now we got someone celebrating basketball season wants to come on. I don't know what this is about. Let's
You said celebrating basketball. That's just what time of the year it is for us now these days, man. It's basketball
see.
season.
What you got, man?
Nah, I had the pleasure of going over to the East Lincoln and Kings Mountain game. I was sitting on East Lincoln side recording because Joe was on the Kings Mountain side. Yeah, it just seemed tonight East Lincoln was the better team. They've been hearing about how good Kings Mountain is, and they've been flying under the radar all year. They've been hearing people been telling them that they're not that good of a 3A team because of teams they played to get here in their conference, or so they've been hearing. They felt a lot of disrespect from fans of other 3A teams. So they came out tonight and just put on the show, man. Like you said, Chris Daly, the sophomore running back, might be the best sophomore running back in the nation, in my opinion. Just seeing him, like he had probably 3 carries and had over 100 some yards in the first half. Like his first play at Kings Mountains, I mean East Lincoln's drive of the game, he bust one basically untouched. He ended up busting another one for about. It seemed like he was about 80 yards untouched, and like that East Lincoln team, man. It was a sight to see. The defense was led by Keandre Walker. He had a punt return for touchdown, a pick six for touchdown. Then you had the linebacker in the middle, Ben Cutter. Then you had Marcel Johnson on the D line. Man, those guys was just unbelievable tonight.
Sorry about that. I had a
There you
little
go.
mouse issue, but yeah, I mean, those guys are, extremely talented, and to your point, um, we don't talk about them, that much because they kind of play a little bit outside of where we normally cover. But obviously, there's a lot of talent on that team, and their matchup with South Point next week looks like it's going to be a really, really good football game.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be a good game, but I know with it being at East Lincoln, I think it's going to favor them more. I know they're happy to get that win and South Point lose so they can get to play that game in front of their home crowd versus having to be on the road again. So I think that'll play a major factor. And I think, East Lincoln's been in this, like this, these coaches and this staff has been here before. So I think that's what a lot
Hmm.
of it came down to tonight too as well. I think East Lincoln just jumped out on them early, had a punt return early, a rushing touchdown early, caught a pick early. So the momentum of Kings Mountain has never had to deal with a team that had that much momentum and that can score as well. I know they had West Charlotte last week. They was only down, I think, 12-0 at one point. But being down
Hmm.
19-0 in the second quarter at home against a team that scored once on offense and a punt return, then another touchdown, like it's kind of hard to compete with that. Hats off to Kings Mountain. Though they had a great season. I know a lot of people probably didn't think they was gonna make it this far. I know they hate to have to take that tough loss at home. It was a great crowd, great atmosphere on both sides. Kings Mountain, it was weird how the game was going because Kings Mountain was able to run the ball, but a couple turnovers in that punt
Hmm.
return and a couple big plays they let East Lincoln get is really what changed the momentum.
Yeah, I mean, once again, hats off to Kings Mountain. Just a great, great season for Coach Lloyd and those guys. We'll see some of those guys in the Queen City Senior Bowl along with Coach Lloyd, who was a selection on the coaching staff. And Big Shelby, wish you best of luck in basketball season, man.
I appreciate it, man. I'm happy you got down to Lawndale and got to see my little cousin Ryan Thompson put on the show, man. Hats off to him. 5 touchdowns for Burns, but one got called back for 6, man. He's been playing very, very inspired and very motivated football, man. Those guys, when they was in middle school, they won the middle school championship back to back. So they was just not. They've been knocking
Mm.
on the door the last 3, 4 years, and this year they feel like it's their year to do it. And I might be at that game. I'll probably be at that game Friday, the Burns and Reedsville game up there at Reedsville. So
Yeah.
all our families talking about going down there and support them. So that's where I'll probably be covering the game from. And just hats off to Burns. I see y'all, but you see, you out there in that country, man. We, Joe ain't tell you, man. Burns ain't nothing but the sticks, man. I'm surprised you had cell service, man. I guess Brandon ain't making home. His
I,
phone probably died.
I, I'm a little concerned because he's supposed to get home before me, and I ain't heard nothing. So, but anyway, no, the Burns people were great. We just didn't get a chance to get a liver mush sandwich. That was the most disappointing thing.
Well, Burns don't sell them. Only Shelby does.
No, no, they had him tonight.
Well, they ain't like the ones at Shelby.
That's good to know.
But yeah, man. But yeah. I can't wait. Congratulations to everybody that won. I see Drone won again, a big win over TW Andrews. So Drone might get
Yeah,
to the state championship. That'll be good with them.
I was
Cause their
gonna
school that's a new school. Their school hasn't been around that long. So
yeah, I was gonna talk about it because I saw a couple comments.
well, that's a big win for them.
Mr. Bailey Tillery, um, informing us that Drawn won 42-21 over Andrews, and really really happy for him. We've talked about quarterback Elijah Tillery a few times because he's been one of our dedicated campers and done a great job. So Drawn will be going on the road to Mount Airy, who defeated Eastern. Is that Eastern Randolph? I think 35-17 tonight at Eastern. So Big win for Mount Airy. And then on the other side, of course, the 1A school that never loses, Tarboro, defeated Northampton 45-20, and they're going to be taking on a 3 seed Rosewood, who defeated Northmore 27-7. So that's what we got in 1A coming up next week. And we've been talking about 2A because of Burns, but Reedsville defeated Maiden 34-7. So they are hosting Burns next week. And then on the east side of things, we got East Duplin, who defeated Whiteville big 49-6 tonight, taking on number 12 seed Wallace Rose Hill, a name we are familiar with, as they defeated number 1 seed Princeton huge 48-14 at Princeton. So good stuff right there. Some great matchups on the east side of things as well. So that's what we got. Those are our matchups next week. And just to tell you, Charlotte, is we got South Point in Belmont, and I guess you could say East Lincoln is part of Charlotte Metro, but we got Burns. It was considered 704 also, but the Charlotte city limits outside of Weddington, which is outside the city limit, it's a tough night, and we hadn't been here in a while for Charlotte, so we do the show next week. We'll have to talk a little bit about what do we do as Charlotte football fans. Who are we pulling for? Obviously, I think it's going to Weddington now because Grimsley has been the kind of the Charlotte killer the past 2 weeks, knocking out Independence and now Huff in triple overtime. We got a couple comments here. Let's get those before we end. Jim West, I watched the Drawn Andrews game. Drawn might be a tough matchup for Tarboro should both teams make the 1A championship. Well, definitely, Drawn has some athletes, and Tarboro loves to run the ball, control the clock, how they are with the tradition they have. So they're going to have to be able to, I think one of the big things with teams like that is you're going to have to be able to score quickly to, keep up with them, because Tarboro will control the ball, control the clock, and run. And, they do an excellent job with their systems. Kind of similar to Charlotte Catholic. Let's see. Comment to OSU. Let's go Whirlies. Congrats to Grimsley. I said that earlier. Let's see. Jim West. The regular season game between Wallace Rose Hill and East Duplin resulted in East Duplin winning 13-12. Oh, okay. It's tough to beat a good team twice, and if you're playing in the 5th round of the playoffs, you're a good team. So, put my money on Wallace Rose Hill in that one. And then Coach Clark, good to meet you tonight. Hats off to my receivers. They answered the bell. They heard how fast Monroe was tonight. They showed they had the speed and block rate yet. And once we get the highlights done, and I'll try to get them done tonight. I'll try my best to get them done tonight. You'll be able to see that in those highlights. So, all right. Well, I'm glad let's see, we got 16 people watching. I appreciate you being up so late. I didn't expect that many, to be honest. But another great night of high school football. Appreciate everybody watching as always. And we'll be back on the show next Wednesday night, 7:30. We'll have a lot of good stuff to talk about, breaking down these games and a lot more. When our showcase continues to grow, numbers are looking great. Really excited to give all these kids opportunities to come out and compete for offers and scholarships from 38 colleges now in attendance, which is very exciting. And of course, we'll talk some about Queen City Senior Bowl that's coming up, and a lot more after that. So, on behalf of Joe Hughes, who joined me, on behalf of Big Shelby, Adam Weber, who joined me, I'm the Pet Man, Matt Moore. Thank you for watching. We'll see you Wednesday night, 7:30. Football Focus Weekly.